The first quarter of 2026 is officially in the books, and when it comes to GTA real estate, Q1 of 26 did not look much different than Q1 of 25. In fact, it was a little bit slower. Did things start to turn around in March a little bit as we get ready to head into the official spring market? That is what I'm breaking down for you in today's video. Hey everybody, it's me, Marsiglio. I'm a sales representative with Valerie Real Estate. Every week on this channel, I bring you data-driven insights to help you with your home buying, home selling, or real estate enjoying journey. In today's video, we're going to take a look at March 2026 compared to March 2025. We're going to take out new listings this month and tell you historically what happens with new listings in March, how many sell in the month, how many are terminated in the month, how many are carried forward, just to try to give us a bit of an idea as to whether the setup for this spring market is going to be any different than we saw last year. The first thing that we will do is jump into our year-over-year comparison. So this is freehold properties across the Greater Toronto area from Durham all the way out to Halton and then north to York region. So we keep Peel and Toronto in there as well. When it comes to sales, that is really the only metric that we saw an increase. So 3,121 sales as per Toronto MLS in March 2026 versus 3,059 sales last year in the same month. So that's up 70 sales or 2.3%. When it comes to new listings, that new supply coming to market actually tightened up. It was down 15.6%. Again, stay tuned later in the video because we're going to see what actually happened with those new listings in the month of March and compare that to a few other baseline Marches going back to 2019. When you look at those two numbers together, you get your sales to new listings ratio. So 0.37 for March of 2026, that is up from 0.31 in March of 2025. And what that means is that this March, it was still a buyer's market, but it kind of shifted closer to balanced market territory, but still favoring buyers for sure. We also saw terminations fall off in March of 2026 versus 2025. They were down 12.7%. What does this mean? This means that sellers are maybe sticking it out a little bit longer, and that's reflected in the next number as well. It's actually taking 23% longer to sell a listing. This is the median days on market for a listing. So last March it was at 13, this March at 16. Sellers are kind of waiting on the market a little bit longer to sell their properties as opposed to choosing to terminate them. They're also using that offer night strategy less frequently this year, so we're not seeing as many listings terminate once sellers are disappointed with the offers being brought to them, at least on the freehold side. What did this all mean for prices? Well, the average price of a freehold property in March 2026 was $1,247,632, down 7.03% from March 2025, where we saw an average sale price of $1,341,906. One thing that I touched on in last week's video with regards to these sale prices is that over the last couple years, sale prices for the year have really peaked out in February or March, and it did look like we were seeing another bit of a leg down in average prices. You can see here from the Habistat that really didn't change too much from my last video to this week's. In February, we're at $1,242,000 for the average sale price. And according to the Habistat, we're at $1,246,000 in March of 2026. And that's down 5.8% year over year. So looks like that leg down situation is happening again. We didn't see big rapid price appreciation from February to March this year, similar to what we've seen the past couple of years. Running through those same stats on the condo side. So sales totals were down about 1.2% this year. We had 1,839 sales reported in March of 2026 versus 1,861 in March of 2025. New listings were also down in a big way, 17.65% they were down. That was 5,836 new listings on the condo side versus just shy of 7,100 last year. You can see, again, that sales to new listings ratio firmly in buyer's territory, still creeped up about 5 points from where we were last year. But still, that 0.31 is well shy of that kind of 0.4 threshold to be considered a balanced market. When it comes to terminations and expiries, we also saw those down on the condo side, 3,082 in March 2026 versus 3,709 in 2025. And days on market, again, up about 18%. So maybe a similar situation on the condo side. Sellers are not terminating as frequently. They're being a little bit more patient, understanding that it's taking some time for properties to sell. So those kind of wave of terminations that we saw in 2025, we may still see them in 2026, but not at such a high rate. And lastly, while freehold properties were down about 7% year over year, the average price of a condo was down just over 8%. $647,061 in March 2026 versus $706,003 in March of 2025. The difference with those condo prices that, again, it was a bit more of a defined drop from February to March, a 1.2% month-over-month drop in the average price, whereas last year we saw a bit of a price increase from February to March on the condo side. But again, a definite new level for average prices looking at this Habitat chart from where we were at in 2024, 2025, where things flattened out for a good year before another leg down starting last summer, and that looks like it's continuing early in 2026. The monthly numbers are always muddied a little bit because sales that occur in March could be listings that came up in February or January, December, November even. Same thing as with terminations. Every termination you're seeing in March is not necessarily a listing that came to market in March. So to wrap this video up, I want to look at what happens to new listings in the month of March in a quote unquote normal year. What does that look like in a hot year? And then compare it to what we were seeing in 2026. So on the freehold side in 2019, we saw 10,416 new listings hit the market. But 1 in 5 new listings in March of 2019 actually sold in March of 2019. Another 5% or so were terminated or expired, which left about 75% carried over into the rest of the year. On the condo side in 2019, we were actually seeing about 1 in 4 new listings sell in the same month. Again, about 5% were terminated or expired, which meant 71% were being carried over through the rest of the year. Fast forward 2 years, we saw really activity peak for the year in March of 2021, and the difference is drastic. So we had 17,301 new listings hit the market on the freehold side and 7,200 on the condo side. Of those listings, almost half of them sold in the same month on the freehold side in March of 2021. We saw just shy of 12% terminated or expired, and then we saw 41%, so less than half of the listings actually carry through to the rest of the year. A similar story played out on the condo side where we saw 45% of all new listings in March actually sell in March of that year. 7 or so percent were terminated and expired, which meant that you had 47 or 48% of listings. Again, less than half of the new listings that came out in that month were carried through to the rest of the year. Now, on the way down, we had 2023. This was a year into the rate hiking cycle. There were just over 7,500 new listings on the freehold side and just shy of 5,000 on the condo side. And we are still seeing about 4 in 10, 3 in 10 of those listings sell in the same month. It really only carried over just over half of those new listings through the rest of the year. On the condo side, the slowdown hit a little harder and a little quicker. We were carrying over 67% of those March listings through into April, whereas we sold still about 1 in 4. Fast forward to 2026, we saw, again, those 8,459 new listings on the freehold side, 5,836 on the condo side. But in March, the month that is supposed to really kick off the spring market when properties should be moving as fast as they do really at any point in the year, only 14.6% of those listings actually sold. We saw 6.4% of them either terminated or expired, and we're carrying over almost 80% of the new listings that we saw in March through to April. On the condo side, it's even more drastic this year. We only sold 7.9% of those March new listings in March. 6.3% of them were expired, meaning we are carrying over just shy of 86% of all the new listings that hit the market in March into April. So while the headlines may read that sales are up and new listings are down, pointing to a tighter market in 2026, I want you to remember this exercise. 80 to 85% of all new listings coming to market in March are still carrying over into the next month. There's a time to still practice patience as a buyer, in my opinion. Sellers, if you do need to sell, take this into account as well. You don't want to be that 80% that is carrying through to the next month, especially if you're in a position where you need to sell. That means pricing aggressively, being realistic with negotiations if you need to get that home sold. If this new listings exercise interests you and you want to see how it's playing out in your town or your region specifically, all of my information is down in the description of this video. There's also a Calendly link down there where you can book a call directly with me in my calendar to talk your real estate plans. So while it's not looking like things are shaping up for a hot spring market, I'm going to keep bringing you these updates on a weekly basis so that you know first if anything is turning around. I really appreciate you sticking with me right through to the end of this video. Till we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers.